Yo, what's up, world? B Marsh back at it with another basketball video. So I was watching Undisputed with Skip Bayless and what's his name, Shannon Sharp, on the Fox Sports Network. You know what I mean? And Robert Horry was on the show yesterday on the Jump on ESPN, and he said that Hakeem Olajuwon is 20 times better than Tim Duncan. You know, so the question I'm asking everybody is who's better? Is everybody listening to this video? Who's better? Who would you rather have on your team, Hakeem Olajuwon or Tim Duncan? You know, the man Skip Bayless, of course, him being a San Antonio supporter and a loyalist, he picked Tim Duncan. I was about to call him Sterling Sharp, but Shannon Sharp, he he picked Hakeem Olajuwon. Steven Jackson was at the table because he was there yesterday with Robert Horry on ESPN when Robert Horry said that Hakeem Olajuwon is 20 times better than Tim Duncan. Steven Jackson, Captain Jack, he picked Tim Duncan. Of course, he won an NBA championship with him, his one and only ring. You know what I mean? Man, this is a tough one to me. To me, in my opinion, these two, I think it's a fact. It's not even an opinion. It's a fact. These two are the best foreign-born players ever in NBA history. Hakeem Olajuwon being from Nigeria, and Tim Duncan being from the Virgin Islands. You know what I'm saying? Even though it's U.S. Virgin Islands, it's still its own country. You know what I mean? He's a foreign-born player. You check it from the Caribbean. Now, these two guys are great. Tim Duncan got 5 rings in 6 attempts. Been to the NBA Finals 6 times. Could be 6 for 6 if Ray Allen ain't hit that jump shot, that 3-point shot in the corner against when Miami played the Spurs in the championship. If it wasn't for that, then Tim Duncan would be 6 for 6 in NBA championships, just like Mike. You know what I mean? You check it, and the man Hakeem Olajuwon is 2 for 3. He's won two. He's been there 3 times. You know what I'm saying? He lost to my Boston Celtics in '86. You know what I mean? They lost 4-2. That's when they had Ralph Sampson in them. You know what I mean? On the Houston Rockets, Ralph Sampson and the Rockets, they just beat the Lakers with that incredible tip shot. The shot that crazy shot that the Rockets beat the Lakers on to go on to the NBA Finals. You know what I mean? Now, this is a tough one in my opinion. Who's better, man? To me, my favorite all-time NBA center, not the best center of all time. My favorite all-time NBA center is Hakeem Olajuwon. I became a believer of Hakeem Olajuwon when he beat the Knicks in '94 in the NBA Finals. I was going for the New York Knicks. You know what I mean? I wanted Patrick Ewing to get a NBA championship. You know what I'm saying? Patrick Ewing. He was a legend back when I lived back in Boston. You know what I'm saying? He went to high school out there. Then he came out to Georgetown to DC. You know what I mean? So Patrick Ewing's always been my guy. You know what I'm saying? I always rooted for the Knicks to beat the Bulls when they played him, you know what I'm saying? Because Patrick Ewing was a legend back in the Bean, you know what I mean? From his high school days when he came from Jamaica, you know what I'm saying? So, I wanted the Knicks to beat the Rockets. The Rockets beat him in 7. I became a believer in Hakeem, especially the next season when Hakeem Olajuwon, they were the NBA champs, defending champs, but they started sucking that year. Like, they fell off, you know what I'm saying? And then they made a trade for um, they traded Clyde Drexler to Portland. I'm sorry, they traded Otis Thorpe on the Rockets to Portland. You know what I mean? For Clyde Drexler. You know what I'm saying? So they got Clyde Drexler, then they started to improve, but they still were only the 6th seed in that Western Conference playoffs that year, 1995. They were the 6th seed. You know what I'm saying? You check it. They beat the Jazz in the first round. Of course, being the 6th seed, they didn't have home court advantage. They beat the Jazz in the first round. Then the second round, they beat the Phoenix Suns with Charles Barkley. They was down like 2-zip in that playoff series against Sir Charles. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? They was down 2-zip and they came back and beat them. They came back and won 4 straight. You know what I'm saying? And then they beat who they beat. They also, I said they beat the Jazz too. They beat the Jazz, you know what I mean? You check it. So Hakeem Olajuwon, they came, for being a sixth seed. Then they got to the NBA Finals and they beat the Orlando Magic. Orlando Magic had the best record in the NBA. Hakeem Olajuwon and them and Drexler had the number six seed, playing against Orlando, who had number one. And Hakeem and them, they swept them. And also, don't forget, Hakeem also beat the Spurs in the Western Conference Finals when Hakeem gave the MVP of that season to business, David Robinson. He fucking gave him that work, you know what I mean? David Robinson was dumbfounded. He couldn't check this guy, you know what I'm saying? He was being given all kind of moves. The dream shake, up and unders around the rim. He played with him like a puppet, you know what I'm saying? So Hakeem went on to win the NBA Finals after that. They swept Penny and Shaq. Easy work. Hakeem gave Shaq the business, you know what I'm saying? Shaq dunked on him something stupid in that series, but overall, Hakeem was a better overall player. Tim Duncan, is a great player, man. Greatest power forward of all time, you know what I mean? This guy's a 7-footer though. He came to the San Antonio Spurs when they had David Robinson, who was the center. They put Tim Duncan at the power forward. Tim Duncan got an NBA champion in his second year in the NBA. Hakeem Olajuwon also went to the NBA Finals in his second year in the NBA, but they lost to the Celtics, you know what I mean? The Spurs, they beat the number 8 seed New York Knicks, you know what I mean? The number 8 seed New York Knicks is not quite the Boston Celtics of the 80s with Larry Bird, McHale, and Parrish, you know what I'm saying? There's a big difference on who Hakeem had to play in his first NBA Finals as opposed to Tim Duncan's. I ain't taking nothing away from Tim Duncan, but it is what it is. Who do I think is a better player, man? Tim Duncan, I don't know if he has any defensive players of the years. I don't know if he does. If he does, please let me know in the comment section. I know Hakeem Olajuwon does. He got one the same year he got an MVP. 1993-94 season, he won the MVP and the defensive player of the year. For a good stretch of them 3 years when Mike was out of the game, them 2 years, Hakeem Olajuwon was the best player in the NBA. Best defensive player in the NBA, and the best offensive player. I can't quite ever say that Tim Duncan has been the best offensive player ever in his 19 years in the NBA. You know what I'm saying? You check it. Tim Duncan played, I think, 19 years, and Hakeem played 18 years. You know what I mean? But overall, Tim Duncan's a great defensive player, though, even if he doesn't have one, which I'm not too sure. I ain't look it up before I did this. I'm going off the cuff before I did this vid, you know what I mean? But, I think, man, that's a tough one, man. It's a tough one. I think Tim Duncan, nobody can stop or check Hakeem Olajuwon, you know what I'm saying? And to be honest, them 2 years Mike was gone, that's when Hakeem got some championships, right? But, in a 5-year stretch, I think from like 92, 93 till like, I think when Mike retired, the Houston Rockets were 8-2. They've won eight games out of 10 and only lost 2. They were 8-2 against the Chicago Bulls. You know what I mean? Kenny Smith talks about it all the time. He says they would have beat. If they got to the finals against the Bulls, they would have beat them, you know what I mean? With Mad Max, Vernon Maxwell, you know what I'm saying? Garden Jordan, and just, you can't stop Jordan, but, man, it would be a battle, you know what I mean? And can't nobody stop Hakeem. Sorry, not no Will Perdue, Luke Longley, fucking Cartwright, none of them fellas ever, you know what I'm saying, could stop Hakeem, you know what I mean? But, nobody can stop Mike, but it'd be a great series. I don't know who would have won because we never got to see it, but Hakeem Olajuwon, I think his career, their career averages are almost similar, you know what I mean? 21 points per game, 11 boards, you know what I'm saying? But Hakeem Olajuwon is the all-time leading shot blocker in NBA history, you know what I mean? And, his intangibles, man, as far as his footwork, his skill set, man, his skill set was great, just like Tim Duncan. But Tim Duncan was a guy with great fundamentals, but he ain't have the handles like Hakeem. I think Hakeem overall was a better overall player. You check it. And, Hakeem Olajuwon in his career only played with all-stars like, I think only like Otis Thorpe, you know what I'm saying? And maybe Ralph Sampson early, like his first year or second year in the NBA, Tim Duncan's always played with all-stars. Yes, he was the best player on the team, no doubt. I'm not taking nothing away from him. I like both of these guys, you know what I mean? You check it. That's why this is a very difficult decision, you know? But I think, Tim Duncan came in and played with a Hall of Famer and got 2 rings with David Robinson, one of the great top 10 greatest centers of all time, you know what I mean? David Robinson was a legend, is a legend in Spurs history and just NBA history. Guy who was who was a 7-footer who can run the floor like a guard, you know what I'm saying? A guy, a southpaw, a left-handed guy who, man, David Robinson was vicious, number 50, But Tim Duncan got 2 rings with them, so you know, those things right there. Hakeem Olajuwon didn't have the luxury of playing with a Hall of Fame. I think Ralph Sampson now is in the Hall of Fame, if I'm not mistaken. It's mostly because of his college career, but it ain't because he got injured. He ain't last long in the NBA. He would have been a great player though. You know what I mean? I think the man was like 7'4". But he got injured and Hakeem had to carry the load. But he did get 2 rings for Clutch City, man, for Houston, and I was happy for him, you know what I mean? Hakeem Olajuwon was a great player in the NBA. At that time, he was the best player at both ends of the floor, offense and defense, you know what I mean? But, Tim Duncan does have the rings, you know what I mean? He has the championships. Tim Duncan was always ready and steady. You know what I'm saying? But it's very difficult. I don't think you could lose with either guy. Both guys were number 1 overall picks in their draft, you know what I mean? Jordan was in the same draft with Hakeem, Jordan went number 3. But at least Hakeem brought Houston some championships, You know what I'm saying? So, Houston ain't really luck out like that. Chicago got 6, but Houston got 2, you know what I mean? But Tim Duncan, I forgot who came in the draft. The draft he was in. I forgot who else was in it. Keith Van Horn, I know, was picked 2nd. I think Chauncey Billups was in that draft. Yeah, that's right. My Celtics, we picked Chauncey Billups and Ron Mercer in that draft, you know what I mean? But I don't think you could lose with any guy, man. I think it's a toss-up. It don't even matter who's better to me. I really can't see an argument where you could say such and so is better, except that the fact that Tim Duncan has rings, you know what I mean? It's basically a pick'em, Me personally, I like to watch Hakeem Olajuwon play more than I did Tim Duncan, just because Hakeem Olajuwon was just his finesse, man, the footwork, the skill set, the up and unders, top 3 best post games of all time, in my opinion, are Tim Duncan, Hakeem Olajuwon, and Kevin McHale. You know what I'm saying? And it just depends on the situation and which team these guys were on, you know what I mean? That's why maybe Tim Duncan has more rings, you know what I'm saying? Tim Duncan's glass shot, his bank shot off the glass is legendary. And Hakeem Olajuwon's, up and unders and his fadeaway, his crossover handles and his spin moves and just the footwork was legendary, man. So it's very tough, man. If you ask me, I'm going to be biased. I'm going to go with my favorite all-time center of all time. Hakeem Olajuwon. To me, the greatest center of all time, in my opinion, is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. But my favorite is Hakeem Olajuwon, you know what I mean? So I'm going to probably pick Hakeem Olajuwon, but if you pick Tim Duncan, I ain't mad at you. Let me know in the comment section who y'all think is better. Tim Duncan overall in their career, or Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon, you know what I'm saying? Both guys got rings. Hakeem 2 out of 3. This guy Tim Duncan 5 out of 6. So it is what it is, man. I'm just gonna go with Hakeem because of the moves, the skill set, and also the block shots. And also remember, Hakeem Olajuwon was a 6'10" center. He was 6'10". Tim Duncan 7 feet, and the man Hakeem Olajuwon dominated at 6'10". So let me know what y'all think. I'm out. Peace.